Lindsey here at the Kiki office, ready to talk to you today about embellishing jeans. Maybe you were reading Kiki and you saw our really cool pair of jeans that we embellished. So we took a regular pair of jeans and we did so many different things to it that they look totally different. We added glitter and we sewed on them and painted and drew and added bleach and dye and patches and gems and so many cool things to those jeans. So I'm going to go over how to melt trash bags to your jeans, how to add glitter to your jeans, how to bleach and dye your jeans, and how to embroider on your jeans. So if any of those things sounded really confusing when you were reading about it, maybe you can follow along on this video today and we can figure it out together so you can make your own really cool jeans. All right, are you ready? Let's go get started.
Jeans Project Part 1, Glitter!
I'm going to use some denim scraps today instead of jeans because I think you guys at home will be able to see better. So I have one I'm going to cover this whole thing with glitter and the other one I'm going to try and draw a shape for you. Today we're going to need some spray glue, and for this video we're going to use Elmer's, but at home, if you have a different kind of spray glue, that's fine too. Just make sure you read the directions on the back. You'll need glitter, and then you'll need a sealer. You can either use a spray sealer if that's what you have, like this Mod Podge, or I know Krylon makes a satin sealer, or you can use actual Mod Podge, which will make your jeans a little bit stiffer. If you want your jeans to be more flexible, but the glitter might flake off from time to time, I would use the spray finish, and if you want it to be like really strong bond but a little bit stiff, then I would use this one. I also think it would be a really good idea if you work in a really ventilated area, because you see we have a couple of different kinds of glues, and even though these aren't toxic glues, you're still breathing in chemicals. So if you could actually do this outside or in a room with lots of windows, that would be much better. And make sure that you cover wherever your workspace is with some scrap paper, because you're going to get glitter and glue and whatnot everywhere. First, give your glue a good shake. Anytime you're working with a spray, you want to mix everything up. And according to the directions on my Elmer's glue, it says that I want to cover the surface with the glue and then within 15 seconds add the object that I want to bond to my surface. So I'm going to quickly spray it and then put glitter on it. But you want to check your glue. It might have different instructions. Okay, so I'm going to make sure my glitter is open. Okay. Just really saturate it. Okay. And glitter. And you can over glitter at this point because you're gonna shake a lot of it off. And you could even put some of that back in the bottle, but you just want to make sure that the surface is covered pretty well, and so it doesn't matter if you use a lot at this point. Okay, so once you have it to a point where you like it, you can kind of pat it down a little bit, make sure that you've covered the surface, otherwise you're going to get glue all over your hands, and then let it dry for, I think this bottle says about an hour, so you just want it to be completely dry. So I'm going to put this one aside here. Okay, I'm going to try and do a circle on this scrap. It's a little bit harder to do complex shapes, so you might just want to stick with really simple ones. By all means try if you want to do a complicated one, but just keep in mind that it'll end up looking more abstract than your original shape. So I'm going to shake it up. You want to get really close to the jeans, that way you get a smaller stream of glue to make your shape with. Okay. And just cover it. And like I did with the other one, I'm just going to kind of pat it down to make sure that it's stuck to it. Whoop, I got a wet spot there. Okay. Okay, so now we're just gonna let this one dry for an hour also. So now that this has had that hour to dry, I'm gonna go ahead and shake off the extra glitter. Okay, so like I said, it's not gonna be a perfect circle just because of how spray glue is. But so I'm gonna go ahead and use the spray finish, and I'm just gonna cover that area. Because it's gonna make it a little less shiny, I'm gonna add a little bit more glitter again. And then just spray a little more. Okay, and then you're just gonna want to let that dry some more. And again, make sure you do that in a very ventilated area. So I'm going to do the same for this one. So just kind of make sure that you have all the excess gone. So for this one, I'm going to do half of it with the spray and half of it with the Mod Podge so you can see the difference. Okay, and then I saturated it pretty strongly, and then now I'm gonna add just a little bit more glitter. Okay, and then I'm gonna add a little more. Okay. Now for this, you're just gonna take a brush and just really get it in there. It's going to look white at first, but it will dry clear. And you can saturate this a lot. Okay, and like I did with the spray finish, I'm just going to sprinkle some more glitter on top just to make sure it kind of keeps its shininess. Alright, so then you'll just need to let those dry again, probably between 15 minutes and a half an hour, but you'll need to read the directions on whatever finish that you used. So this is this is the circle that we did, and this is the spray on, and you can see it's on there pretty good. And it is a little bit of an abstract circle, but you can kind of play around with that. And then this is the one that this side is the painted on Mod Podge, and this side is the spray on. And maybe you can kind of see that this is kind of thicker, a little not as movable. And this is thick too, but this is just a little bit more. But I mean, it's on there pretty good. So I think if you really want it to stay, this might be the better option. And this is just kind of, if you don't mind it flaking off a little bit, but both of them work. So you'll just have to maybe practice and see which option you like better for yours.
Jeans Project Part 2 Embroidery.
We're going to move on to embroidery now. And embroidery is basically drawing on fabric. So just like you would take a pencil and a piece of paper and draw a really cool picture, we're going to do that with this denim and this embroidery floss. And maybe you normally make friendship bracelets and stuff out of embroidery floss, but we're going to use it today to sew on. So you're actually going to need a bigger needle than a hand sewing needle. So one that has a really big opening. Can you see that? And it's a little bit thicker all around so that we can push this big thread through the fabric. Also, when you're deciding what picture you want to draw, you're going to want to go ahead and just do a little drawing on your fabric. It'll be easier for you to follow along. I did it with Sharpie so that you guys at home could see what I'm doing, but it would be better if you used pencil. So go ahead and take a second and think about what you want to sew on your jeans and do a little drawing really fast. So for this video, we're going to do two different kinds of stitches. We're going to do an X stitch and a straight stitch. And usually when you see people doing embroidery, the X stitch is the most common. So if you look at what I drew here, we're going to cover the entire line with tiny little X's. So we're just going to follow the lightning bolt and the cloud line, making little X's as we go along. Go ahead and thread your needle and knot the end of your string. We're going to start by pushing your needle up from the back side of the fabric, so that's where your knot will end up, on the back side of the fabric. Start at the bottom right hand side of your line. Stick your needle up through the fabric and go diagonally to the left, and push your needle down through the fabric. Then push it up through the bottom left and go diagonally right, and then you'll do that again. Push your needle through the bottom right side of your line and go diagonally left. Push your needle down through the fabric and come up underneath it, and then go diagonally right and push your needle back down through the fabric. Maybe you can see eventually I start to get like a little rhythm. So I stick my needle over my line, okay? And then I stick it back through the fabric and I pull it through. And then I do that again. So I stick it over my line to easily make an X. So see, like this, and then I just pull it through. So maybe just keep practicing until you find your, specific rhythm. Okay, so over my line. And then I do that again. And it's very easy to see the X that you're making when you do it that way. Now let's just speed things up a little bit here since it takes a while. You at home could do this while you watch a movie or hang out with a friend. You get to a point where you run out of string, you can just carry your string to the back and just do a little knot like this. Put the needle through the loop. And I usually do that twice just to make sure it's secure. Okay, and then you can cut it and then start in the same place just like you did before. Zoom! Embroidering super fast so you can see the end results. So just like we did before, I'm tying off the back by just doing a little loop. So I'm gonna, for these star shapes, I'm actually gonna do a straight stitch. So here we did the X stitches. So I'm just gonna, I have my string already threaded in the knot at the bottom, and I'm just gonna go up underneath and just do my lines here. So whoop. Sometimes it's harder to cover your area with straight lines. But it can be two different effects that are both worth trying. Since these are so close, I'm actually not going to tie this one off. I'm just going to loosely leave my thread between the two. So see, if you pull it too tight, it'll bunch, but I'm just going to leave it like this and keep going. So this is our last bit of straight stitching to do, and then we are finished with our embroidery. Okay, so you can do all kinds of fun little shapes and drawings by either doing a straight or cross stitching with your embroidery floss.
Jeans Project Part 3. Melt trash bags.
Okay, so I'm going to go over ironing plastic bags to your jeans. For this we're going to do trash bags, but you could technically do any kind of a thicker bag. Maybe if you get like a green bag at a store that's a very thick green plastic. So this a similar consistency to a trash bag. We're going to use white trash bags today, but you could use the black ones too. So go ahead and lay your shapes where you want them to be, and you can use some spray glue if you want to secure them in place, but as soon as you put the parchment paper on top of it, it should be fine. Okay, then you just go ahead and put, we're just going to go ahead and put another layer of parchment paper on top, otherwise the plastic will melt to the iron and not to your jeans. So you don't want your iron on a super hot setting. A medium setting would probably be better. And you're just going to do a few passes over it. And you can actually kind of tell when it's starting to melt to your jeans because you can see the twill, you can see the weave of the fabric in the melted plastic. You can use steam if you feel like that'll help. And you might just want to, when you're doing this at home, you might want to do what I'm doing and just take a few scraps of denim to practice. That way, by the time you do it on your jeans, you know exactly what you're going to do. I usually do testers for everything I do. That way I'm sure what my results will be. So make sure that it's cooled off before you peel off the parchment paper, and it'll be a lot easier for it to separate. It'll be melted to the jeans and not to the plastic. But if you feel like there's anything that's sticking up still, you can go ahead and spray that corner with a little bit of spray glue and just do a couple more passes until it's totally melted.
Jeans Project Part 4. Bleach and dye.
We're going to go over how to bleach denim now. Bleaching can be really cool. It can have really cool effects, but it can also be very damaging if you don't do it correctly. So bleaching actually weakens the fibers of your fabric. If you have too much bleach, it can actually eat through the fabric. So we're going to dilute the bleach a little bit today. And what you're going to need is some kind of a bucket to put your bleach in. So you're probably not going to want to use like a kitchen bowl or something. You're going to want to use something that your family doesn't mind if you put chemicals in. So some kind of an old bucket or like laundry basin. And you're going to need a cup, a smaller kind of cup, and some bleach. Okay, so I filled this cup full of water 2 times and put that in here. And then I filled this cup full of bleach once and put that in here. So that's a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 cups of water for 1 cup of bleach. And what you might want to do is get some old scraps of blue jean if you can, and maybe try different ratios to see what you like better. So you could do a small bowl that has 3 spoonfuls of water with 1 spoonful of bleach, and then maybe one that has, 2 spoonfuls of water with 1 spoonful of bleach, and then cut your scraps and put those in the bowls and just see. But we're gonna go with 2 to 1 today. You don't have to bleach your whole pair of jeans if you don't want to. You can just, if you just want to bleach the ends or part of the side, you'll just have to rig your setup so that whatever part of your jeans you want bleached, that's the only part in the water. But keep in mind that fabric will absorb the water, so it's going to come up a little bit. So like, say you want 2 inches on your jeans to have the bleach water on it, well then only put your jeans in like a ½ an inch or an inch, and it will actually absorb up to that 2 inches. And anytime you're going to bleach something, you actually want to wet the fabric first, because it will absorb the bleach more evenly, and it doesn't, you don't have to worry about it, having dry parts and wet parts. So go ahead and whatever part of the jeans you want bleached, go ahead and get that wet now. And then when you're ready, just let it sit in the bleach bath. And you're just gonna, it might just be a good idea to kind of work or do something else near it and just kind of keep an eye on it until it gets to the shade of white that you like, until it's to a part of bleaching that you're happy with. And when it does get to a point where you're happy with it, you actually want to take it out immediately and wash it, because that will stop the bleaching process. Even if you take it out and let it dry, it's still going to continue to bleach a little bit. So you're going to take it out of the bleach water and you're going to jump over to the sink and wash it, like rinse it out, and then you'll put it in the washer machine and wash it and dry it. This was in the bleach bath for about an hour, and if you remember, this is what color it was originally, so you can see the big difference. So you can play around with, maybe putting some rubber bands on it to see if that'll change it, or like I said, putting part of your jeans in and letting it soak up. It'll kind of create a different shade all the way up. Or you can even at the store get, it's called a bleach pen, and a bleach pen is for spots on your blouse and stuff, and you could actually write with the bleach pen on your clothes. So you can just kind of play around and see what different things you can do with bleach. But just make sure when you pull it out of the bleach bath that you wash it in the washer machine, because otherwise it'll continue to bleach. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go over dyeing denim. And for this video, we're using RIT dye. And you can find this at most grocery stores and fabric stores. But if you have a different dye at home, or if there's a different dye that you've used before, feel free to use that. Just make sure that you follow the directions on the back. And each dye is different, but for the most part, natural fibers will dye better than synthetics. Synthetic fabrics just don't absorb the dye the same way. So just like we did for other projects, you always might want to just try some test swatches first, just so that you'll know how it'll look before. If you were to do, say, a giant yard of fabric, you might just want to do a tiny piece first. But I have the bleached denim that we did, and also just another piece of denim, just so you can see the differences. And it does need to be wet before you put it in the dye bath. And for the RIT dye, it's a 6-to-1 ratio, and the water needs to be hot. By 6-to-1, I mean six cups of water to 1 cup of dye, or 6 spoonfuls of water to 1 spoonful of dye. But it also just make sure you read the directions. But for this, we're doing a 6-to-1 ratio, and these directions actually call for adding salt to the mix. But so I'm going to put my wet fabric in to the dye bath, and I'm just going to let it soak for a while. I'm going to start with a ½ an hour, but I might actually leave it in longer. So these are the 2 swatches that we had in the dye bath. And when you decide that they're done, you want to rinse them until the water runs clear. So even if you see a little bit of pink, you want to continue to rinse. And it's actually probably a good idea to throw it in the washer after that also. But don't wash it with any other clothes, just wash it by itself, otherwise it'll bleed. And just as a tip, it's always a good idea when you're bleaching or dyeing fabric to wear clothes that you don't care about very much, just so that you don't ruin something that you really liked. If you make a mess with your dye, like around your, wherever you're working, you can actually use some bleach to clean some of that up. So these are pulled out after half an hour in the dye bath. Obviously, the longer you leave them in the dye bath, the brighter and bolder the color will be. I probably wouldn't want to leave it more than an hour to an hour and a half, but after a half an hour, it's a pretty strong color. This one was the one we bleached first, and this one was the regular denim. So you can, different effects can happen based on what you do. And for the jeans we did in Kiki, we actually bleached the bottom and then dyed it in the middle so that you could kind of get a gradient of color. I hope you had fun working on this jeans tutorial today with me, and that you also had fun embellishing your own jeans at home. Make sure, however they turn out, that you take a picture of it and email it to submissions@kikimag.com. And also check back at our website and our Kiki Facebook and Etsy all the time to see what cool opportunities we have there for you too. Good luck on your project and have a great day.
The end.